How often is it that we like to be in control, making plans to give a sense of security? My name is Kathleen Ryan, and I have been studying marine biology and aquaculture at James Cook University in Townsville, Australia. In 2024, in my second year of university, a scholarship opportunity arose, the new Colombo Plan. It was an unexpected turn to my study plan, but it was also an experience that seemed too valuable to miss. The new Colombo Plan is a government initiative for Australian undergraduate students. Their goals are to broaden and strengthen Australia's ties within the Asia-Pacific region. The application process was draining and preparation was tense, but I started to see the fruit of my awarded efforts in the beginning of 2025. I flew down to Canberra for pre-departure training. There were a million hiccups, with wild weather in Townsville disrupting connecting flights both to and from Canberra. But with quick thinking and help from many sides, I made it. Then the waiting game was on. I was set to fly to my host country, Japan, in trimester 3 at the end of September of 2025. Between now and then, many other special things have been happening in my life. Nearing to my departure date, I was still waiting on important documents needed for my visa. It was becoming quite stressful, every alternative case scenario running through my head. But after lots of prayer and patience, I got my visa 2 days before I was booked to fly out. And so D-Day arrived, and with it, a new journey ahead. I was set to study in Japan at Tohoku University for 4 months, then take an internship and travel around in-country for the last 2 months of my program. The plan was perfect. We finally had everything laid out. I arrived in Tokyo on the 26th of September 2025. Everything was so new, but I remained focused and on schedule. I took the Shinkansen bullet train up to Sendai, a city north of Tokyo, and where I'd be calling my temporary home. Everyone was so helpful and welcoming, so I was able to adjust and settle in. I was living in on-campus accommodation, which was located up a very big hill. After my first day climbing it, I was convinced, if anything, my stay here would keep me fit. The university housing was made up of 6 six-story buildings with townhouse-style floors. I had my own room and a shared space with 7 other girls. The room was larger than I expected, and the views blew my mind. Everything here was just perfect. I unpacked my bags, set up my internet connection contraption. I have my hub connected to the LAN cable, connected to the internet. So now I've got Wi-Fi in my room. And made my bed, which actually came with a set of instructions. I had a week before classes would start, which meant time to explore and time to get logistics done. Walking around campus in the mornings was so beautiful. Although being autumn, the weather was still delightfully warm. Japan is pretty famous for its convenience stores. We have a Lawson on the university grounds, which is actually known as the inconvenience store, since it's only open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and closed on Sundays. But nonetheless, there were all sorts that can be bought there, and so cheaply. Sendai's subway network is one of the easiest to navigate, especially compared to Tokyo. We have a stop right on campus. During my time at Tohoku, I had a wonderful tutor from the Marine Lab, Ayane, who helped me adapt to life in Japan. This is the subway layout, just 2 lines, one north to south and the other east to west. So simple. One of the first tasks new residents in Japan need to do is go to their locality's ward office. There, I got my residency card stamped with my address and received my mandatory medical insurance card. If you're a resident for 6 or more months, like I was, this insurance is free. Iyane being Japanese was a massive help. I have no idea how I would have been able to do it alone, as very few staff members speak English. Sendai is not nearly as big and crowded compared to Tokyo, but since I've never lived in any large city before, everything was so new and exciting. Many of my first days in Japan was exploring the city and all the shops. The main hub here was around Sendai Station, which is super convenient to get to with the train. Inside the different shopping centres, it was shopping galore. Many things are also cheaper than what I was used to in Australia. There were clothes shops with everything looking so fashionable. Just walking around and looking at all the Japanese people, it was like everyone could be a model. The stationery shops were some of my favourite, with stickers and cute calendars, to books, pens, and even cameras in them. Also, when trying on clothes, you have to take your shoes off, and the ladies wear a face covering to avoid getting makeup on the tops. One of my favourite shops was Yodobashi Camera, and if you've been to JB Hi-Fi, you haven't seen this place. Cameras, tripods, lighting and sound equipment, TVs, keyboards, just all things electronic. This is also where I came to get my Japanese SIM card. Around the corner was Lopia. Lopia is the equivalent of Woolworths or Coles, but still felt very different. There was even a toy train running above the shelves. Back on campus, I had most of my meals at the cafeteria. The food was so cheap and tasted great, I figured there was no point in cooking. I took my classes in the Commons building. The cafeteria, a small store, and study spaces are located on the ground floor. Upstairs were the classrooms where I attended lectures. The grand building at the end of this path is the Faculty of Agriculture building and where the Marine Lab is located. I had a desk in the student room and helped out in the aqua room. I also got to see different labs such as the histology and PCR rooms. Tohoku University is very research orientated. In the marine biology sector, there is a focus on jellyfish, from sequencing DNA to analysing their gonads. All the lab members were so kind and welcoming, and it was a privilege to be involved. Of course, being in Japan, I couldn't let up all the opportunities I had to explore. Autumn is one of the best times to go hiking. The weather is cooling down, and the mountainsides are turning all shades of yellow, orange, and red. I had made many friends from church and university to go on trips with. The scenery everywhere is breathtaking, aesthetic, and a photographer's dream. One of the first trips I took was up Mount Zhao to Okama Crater. This mountain is known as one of the best for skiing during winter. But even in autumn, it was a hike not to be missed. The volcanic crater was a stunning turquoise blue. It was pretty windy up here as well, and some clouds ended up coming down. But now I can say I've walked through the clouds. On another trip, I went to Gebike Gorge with a few photo stops along the way. We went on a flat-bottom boat helmed by Japanese boatmen with a pole. This scenery was stunning. Towering rock walls, overhanging trees, and ducks and fish which we could feed. Then probably my favorite trip was Naruto Gorge. Autumn was now in full swing. It's been super windy and the rain was sprinkling on and off. But that meant rainbows and falling leaves all around us. That year, there had also been an epidemic of bear attacks, so we would joke that we were going on a bear hunt. Thankfully, we didn't encounter any of the creatures and enjoyed the walk in the woods. We followed the trails until we reached a small town, just as it was becoming golden hour. I was in videographer's heaven. Along with all the beautiful hiking trips I took, I also visited a zoo an aquarium, science museum, and did a 16-kilometer walk to and along the beach. You don't understand the amount of relief I had when I saw that subway sign after walking all day. I also went to social events at uni, became obsessed with karaoke, found a wonderful church community, and of course, hung out with my many new friends and ate so much good food.
Just in case.
Thank you.
Nearing the end of the first quarter of semester, I took a solo weekend trip down to Tokyo. I had an absolute blast, staying in an all-women's capsule hotel and visiting all the tourist attractions like the Tokyo Skytree, Team Labs Planet, the Aquarium Art Museum, the Imperial Gardens, more gardens, and of course a capybara cafe. I also had an exam to study for when I got back, and being alone was starting to hit a bit more. I had also already suffered a few bouts of loneliness. On Wednesday, the 26th of November, I sat my last exam and submitted my final report. Then I decided to go to the ice rink, a trip I'd already taken about 4 times. I'd started to pick up figure skating back in Townsville and had been doing it for about 2 years now, but it seemed that enough would be enough. What I thought was a simple sprain became my worst fear. I'd broken my leg and needed to get surgery. I never knew I could pack up an entire life and fly back overseas so quickly. Hours of waiting, making phone calls, sending emails, and organizing travel arrangements. I was utterly exhausted, and I know my parents on the other side, luckily in Sydney at the time, were drained too. On the night of Friday, the 28th of November 2025, I flew out of Tokyo and landed in Sydney on the Saturday and was taken straight to hospital. I had my operation that very day, and I knew I was not going back to Japan. After some time in Sydney, I was able to go back to Vanuatu for Christmas. I also had to withdraw from the scholarship program after only being 2 of my 6 months in. But strangely, I've yet to feel disheartened. I'm back with my family. I'm also able to graduate on time. And every morning I see the warm skies and blue sea. I've come to be grateful I missed the below freezing winter in Japan. I was really fooling myself to think I'd survive. It's funny how we make plans for our life. Of course, we can't just sit idly, not making any decisions. But sometimes, the best plans are the ones we don't know, the ones that are in God's hands.